Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. I'm Emmanuel, I'm an airline pilot, and today we are sitting in the VIP lounge here at New York's JFK airport, and we are going to fly over to London Heathrow on the British Airways 747. Now, before anybody is going to turn it out, yes, I'm well aware that British Airways doesn't have the 747-8 and that they phased out their 400s, unfortunately. However, today we are checking out the latest aircraft and avionics beta, and there is a good lot of new stuff there, like fix info pages and stuff like that. So I am sure we are going to have a very good time finding out some of the abilities of this airplane. It's roughly 25 minutes before departure, so I am afraid we have to leave the VIP areas now, and we have to make our way towards the aircraft in order to assure an on-time departure, which is going to be planned at 50 in 22 minutes. Obviously, by far not enough for a real 747, but sitting in simulator, that makes quite a couple of things a little bit easier. Just a very quick note, though. It's a pretty cool design here from AnyBuilds in the JFK airport. And if we go just about a level lower, like this, we've got our economy part, and from here you can even walk all the way through to the security control. So look at this. This is just about amazing what you can do here. Some of you will remember I did a similar video for Newark Airport, and it is just cool that at JFK we have these same abilities. It is just really, really cool. Look at that. Even though it is quite performance intensive, before I got my RTX 4090 I couldn't even fly here. So that is quite new for me as well, that I can even go here. But it is really cool to experience all of this in action. I mean, look at that. And we're talking about one of the world's largest airports here. And they modeled it in a detail like this. Very, very cool. Okay, so back in our boarding area, and up here is our ride for the day, the British Airways 747-8. Before we board, let's have a very quick look into the flight plan using SimToolkit Pro in order to display what we are going to do today. And this is our rough routing. We got quite a strong quite a strong southerly jet stream today, and for that reason the North Atlantic tracks are lying rather low. If we look into our flight plan, we can quickly get ourselves an overview. It is obviously going to be an ETOPS and ETP flight, and we are quite far from our maximum takeoff and maximum landing weight. However, we are carrying today 291 passengers and 11 tons of cargo across the North Atlantic. So apart from that, fuel-wise, 66.1 tons are planned, and 55 of that are going to be trip fuel, so 11 tons of fuel remaining. Going down, we have Gatwick planned as our first commercial alternate, and that does look quite good to me, as there will be good connections available for the passengers. If we go a little bit further down in our flight plan, let's have a very quick look into the weather before we start with everything else. So, departure at Kennedy has very good weather at the moment, nothing to complain about at all. There will be some showers of rain later on during the day, but we will be long gone by that time. Looking over into Heathrow, things are, well, a little bit further interesting here. We have no clouds at the moment, and the general weather condition is okay with an easterly wind. However, looking into the afternoon, we are getting some very strong showers of rain and thunderstorms. However, we will be long in Heathrow by the time this appears. Similarly, over at Gatwick, starting an hour earlier than it does in Heathrow, but still strong showers of rain, thunderstorms, but we're going to land before that, so I don't really see any problems there. And the rest goes for our remaining alternates. Basically, they have all the same forecast. Our critical ETOPS airports, well, not the best weather, as you would kind of expect for the Canadian coast. And then looking over at Ireland, things are good. The very good thing here is that even with weather conditions like this, we can easily still fulfill our crossing requirements. Let's see if we've got the charts here in the OFP. No, we don't, unfortunately. Well, that's unfortunate, but nonetheless, Going by the 180-minute diversion rule, even Shannon alone would be sufficient to cover our entire crossing of the North Atlantic. Right, so that is our general situation, I would say. Looking into the amount of fuel, well, the taxi in JFK can be rather long, so I suppose we take a ton extra here. They already included almost 700 kilos of taxi fuel. But I would say we take 67 tons of fuel, and then we can load our airplane up. So, 67 tons, let's quickly load that. Unfortunately, we still need to use the weight and balance manager over here. So give me kilogram, please, and I have no idea why this is changing at the moment. The airplane should be fully shut down. Anyway, let's go here. We said we need 67 tons, and what I suppose we do is we empty the reserve tanks because we had some problems with them in the past. Oh, but it fills it all. Okay, well, that's gonna be fine. So that is 9.2 tons. We won 67 plus 9.2 makes it 76. So let's go ahead and load that up. Now we just empty those. Okay, 67 tons. That should be kind of fine. For our payload, let's see what we are gonna need, and it's gonna be 41.4 tons. Okay, so payload, and we want 40. Yeah, 40.8. That's gonna do. Look at that, how that's just 25% of payload there. Really amazing, isn't it, how much a 747 can carry. Okay then, I would say we are all set up, so let's head over right into our cockpit and take it flying from there. Okay, 747, here we are. A little bit dark in here, isn't it? Well, we can help ourselves. So, you give me a battery, give me standby power, and external power. Start aligning, and I just about want all the lights we have. Yeah, that looks about better. I was kind of debating if I should leave those lights off for our departure in order to show them off when we get en route, but I do figure that it is dark enough over here that it's warranted to turn them on already. Pretty much like this. Okay then. So, nav light on. What's the beacon light position here? That switch always looks a little bit strange to me, but it is kind of the same position as the nav light when it is on. See what I mean? Anyway. Well, okay then. Let's go ahead and start setting up our flight management computer. Here's the flight plan for you guys. And I'm quickly pinning that one on top. Right then, here we go. We've got a 747-8 with the GNX engines. The database is current as of this recording. Position in it, we are going to use the GPS position, and we fly from KJFK towards Echo Golf Lima Lima. Oh, the speed brake lever is still blocking the clear click spot. That's something for us to keep in mind. And the GSX menu is blocking something as well. Okay, anyway, here we go. Speedbird 11 Juliet, departure, gonna be runway 22 right. Looking at the plan, we're flying the JFK 2 departure toward JFK 5 departure towards ship. And here's something. Now, we are gonna fly that departure. However, just yesterday I got a notice from one of the developers here regarding my 787 video where we ran into some trouble with the navigation after the vector departure. And he told me that there is a chance that this was caused by the vector lag on the departure. So if we do encounter any navigation problems today, I might just about do something on the lags page that we would not quite do in real life, but I don't want to break the nav system if there is a known issue with it. So just to have that mentioned, I am going to remove the vector lag in a moment. Right then, we're going to fly on NAT X-ray today. So let's have a look into the track message from Joburg. That's 41 north, 60 west. So that is something they said they fixed, and that is that you can now use the correct Boeing coordinates in order to program your route. Now, I have to admit, I just about learned in my typewriting how it works in the Airbus. And obviously that means that I have kinda, well, forgotten about how it works in the Boeing. But looks like I am actually running quite well over here. So you enter the north coordinate, 4300.0, and then the west, 05000.0. Like that, you can enter the custom North Atlantic waypoints. Obviously, you could use the abbreviated form as well, however, at least my operator doesn't want us to do that, because it is too easy to make a mistake like that. But you can see that it accepts both values there. However, typing the full coordinate is how we are supposed to do it, and for that reason that is how I am going to do it mostly. Also, you will see how that changes the format, how the waypoint is displayed into north and west coordinate, compared to this, where it would be rather easy to accidentally confuse it, and for example, have a 4640 west, or east, or whatever. So then the waypoint would be in a totally different place, and obviously that is something that you would not want to happen. So, for that reason, we're supposed to enter the coordinates like this. Right, here we go. That is our North Atlantic track. And then we're going to take it towards Somax and then Atsur, but we should surely have that up here. Okay, Somax isn't in there, then we gotta enter that one. Okay, Somax, then we have Atsur. We're flying quite a southerly route today, but when you see the wind display during the flight, you will see why that is the case. Okay, so Avrin, Jetsy, and then we're almost in London. Ogloon. And then we have HOTAS. This, by the way, is a new routing for me as well. There used to be a time during my ATPL training where I flew quite a lot of those British Airways long-haul flights, but I've never seen routing like this, so this is probably all new. But what do I know? Okay then, for the arrivals, runway 9 left is planned today with a Zurich 1 hotel arrival. So let's quickly go ahead and put that in. Zurich 1 hotel, and the last waypoint of that is going to be Ockham. So we can select the Ockham transition on here. Okay, that's our route. Let's go ahead with the performance. Reserve, 8 tons. Zero fuel weight, planned 261.5, and our actual is 252.7. That's quite a difference. Well, you know what? I'm gonna load another 9 tons of cargo then, because that is a bit too much of a difference there for me. So it says 40.8, so give me 50.6. Okay, let's just about do that again. 262.5. That's a ton more. And if we take a ton more weight, we have to take an additional 173 kilograms. We got a ton more fuel. 67.1 versus 66.1. So we have plenty of fuel on board. Perfect. 370 the initial level and 90 is the cost index. Cruise CG, we'll just about leave it where it is. Okay, accept that. So for the weight, we are 100 tons below the takeoff weight. You know what? I'm gonna take takeoff 1 at 35 degrees. That is just a best guesstimate, so wait a second. Look at that. Okay, we found the bug. So takeoff 1 gives me 94%. But now I enter an assumed temperature. And that should, in all cases, reduce the takeoff N1. But look at that. I'm adding 35 degrees, and the takeoff N1 increases. That is absolutely not correct behavior there. That we can say for sure. It is definitely not correct behavior. But okay. In that case, you know what? I'm going to do things slightly different then. And I'll take full takeoff. And let's make it a 60-degree assumed temperature. 93.4, that looks about well. And then we're going to take a climb 2. And that's it. Flaps 10 takeoff. The CG will take automatically. Well, that doesn't look right. Okay, give me the weight and balance menu once more. We need to check our CG setting there. There we go. Okay, that does not look right. Give me something nice. Yeah, 26. That seems to look good. Quite close to the forward limit, but that is totally fine. Okay, then let's quickly go back to the performance page. Show CG. At least that was around 26. And then for the takeoff, 16. Well, that doesn't look right either. But I'm just going to go with this, use the trim setting we have here, and then we'll see how the airplane is going to rotate. It might be anything. I have absolutely no idea. Okay, 170 knots V2. Here we go, like this. Okay. VNAV page, 18,000 is correct transition altitude, that is fine. And for the lags pages, I told you I'm going to remove that vector lag over here because it caused issues previously. So let's remove that. Let me just go direct to ship, and we are not going to use LNAV for the departure. I just want to be sure that we're not recreating the same issue we had yesterday, because the developers are looking into that already, and overall we don't want to force the airplane to look bad, do we? Okay, cool. So that's pretty much that. Let's see, any of those uplinks? We can enter the winds, but we cannot uplink them. That is fine for me. Okay, op 362, max 398, so 370 is going to be a good cruising level. Variable fuel, that's probably going to change. And I'm happy with that for now. Okay, perfect. So we're just about going to leave that stuff over there, and then we'll go ahead with the rest of our cockpit setup. So the IRSs are aligning, APU, well, you know what, I'm gonna turn that on now, otherwise I'm just about going to forget about it again. Let's quickly see, hydraulic pumps, you still can't turn them into auxiliary. I hope that is something that they are going to add, but we'll see about it. Emergency lights on. Can we do a fire test up here? No, we can't. Okay, fine for me. So the fuel panel will just about leave unchanged. The anti-ice can all go into automatic. Window heat on. And then going to the last part of the cockpit here. Just about trying to see if we've got any manual control there of the pressurization system, but it doesn't look like we do yet. In the 787 they added some stuff over there, but looks like they didn't do that on the 74 yet. Also this button over here, not clickable. I would expect this to be in the center position. Okay. Flags we can turn on. Do note that the developers approached me over the past couple of days and told me that I'm missing a couple of sounds there because I am using the sound pack by FTSM Plus. So that sound pack apparently needs a little bit of updating with the new sounds that they have in here. That might be the reason why some of the sounds we were expecting didn't play. So that's just something for you to have in your mind when thinking about, when making your opinion about this airplane. Obviously, it is going to come to your sim for free, so expecting too much would be unfair. But overall, that does of course not mean that we don't have to expect anything, because actually we can expect quite a lot. This is quite a cool airplane. Okay, cool. So, altimeter 2987, we don't need anything on here, and we've just done that. So auto brake RTO, flex page on the right side, fuel control switches are off. Frequencies, I'm just about going to leave them where they are. We are not flying this online. And squawk 2000. He cuts above. And that should be pretty much it. Here too, seatbelt auto logic. And if we just about have a quick look into here. One note over here as well. I said in my 787 video that the seatbelt sign should show the indication while the switch is in auto. However, they showed me an indication from the manual that it would only show when the switch is in on. I am not 100% sure about that, because Boeing manuals can sometimes be a little vague, a little unclear. And I do know that in the auto position, at least in the 777, it would certainly show when the seatbelt sign is on, because otherwise there is no way for the pilots to know. And I would be surprised if it worked any different in any of the other versions. However, that is not to say that it is impossible, and I do hope that they are going to do a little bit more research and figure out what is really the case there. Okay, quick look into the other pages. If you're wondering why I'm using the first officer side there, just because it's easier to access from here. So, hydraulics are looking good, and pushback time should be in about 1 minute. I guess we're going to have a little bit of delay, but no worries, we'll make that up during the flight. So, electrics look good, hydraulics look good, fuel. So, you can see we got 9 tons in the main tank number 1 and 4, and 24.5 in the main tanks 2 and 3. So, our task for the flight is going to be to balance that out. In the 747, there is still a little bit of manual balancing needed there. And basically, as long as the override pumps here and here are on, the main tanks 2 and 3 should be feeding the system. And that way, our fuel should be balanced just fine. What is worth mentioning here is that I completely took out the fuel from the reserve tanks. Now, I'm not sure if that is per the real Boeing 747 fuel schedule, but I ran into problems with that on my previous video, flying to Mallorca, where actually an engine failed in flight, so I'm just about going to do it that way, and we'll keep an eye on the fuel manually. So, air conditioning page, that has been added with one of the past updates as well, and is quite appreciated by me. Okay, apart from that, we can see the APU is feeding. I am a little bit surprised that we do not get any green lines over here, seeing what the APU is actually doing over here and how it is actually feeding the system. However, that might as well just be a thing that doesn't exist with the 747. I'm not 100% sure about that. If anybody of you who's got the PMDG in P3D, you are more than welcome to check it. Obviously, that goes for any other 747 add-on as well. Okay, cool. So, we are pretty much good to go over here. So, I'm just going to give you a very quick briefing, and no worries, some of you said that my briefings are a little bit too extensive, so I am going to cut them short a little bit, and just give you the most important piece of information here. Okay, so, threats for the departure. I don't really see anything there, except that I haven't flown the 747 in a while. So if we have a look into the charts, we are parking up here on Terminal 8. Pushback is going to be over here, and then we'll taxi out via Alpha. And then Delta Bravo crossing runway 31 right for a full length to right departure. For the takeoff itself, if we have a look into the FMC, we are going to do a flap 10 takeoff. And we have 60 degrees assumed temperature, speeds 138, 151, and 170, which is set up here. Okay, our SID is going to be the Kennedy 5 departure, and if we have a look at that, I removed it from the FMC because of the issues that we've seen yesterday. But nonetheless, let's quickly go over it, because it actually is rather easy. So, we are going to proceed on the runway track over here, and then we're going to get radar vectors from about 5 dm JFK. Top altitude going to be 5,000 feet, and we have 5,000 feet selected on the MCP as well. So what we can do is we can draw ourselves a little ring here to back our departure up. JFK/5, and out of that we're going to get radar vectors. Do note, this is new in the current version as well, that we can now enter radials and fixed rings on the fixed page. And I'm sure we're going to see a little bit more of that during the course of this flight. And if you look at it over here, that is our lovely little ring that we have just drawn. Okay, one thing that I surely hope they are going to do is to change those taxi maps, because in my opinion, the way they look like right now, they are rather useless, because I just can't make anything out on there. It's basically a top-down view of the file of the airport, but, you know, it's pretty much hard to read, if not impossible to use, unfortunately. I surely hope they are going to change that for a future update. Okay then, let's prepare our position for pushback. The APU is online, so I am not going to mess that up today. Well, we still have our landing in Heathrow ahead, so never say never. But apart from that, I do believe things should be fine for us now. So let's go ahead and run the pre-flight checklist. Park and brake, set, and fuel control switches cut off. Pre-flight checklist complete.
Hello, Captain. We're ready for pushback.
Hey, hi there. Please confirm all doors hatches are closed, ground commit is removed, and bypass pin is installed. Obviously, we aren't gonna get a proper answer to that, so go ahead and carry out the procedure. Normally, I would select the auxiliary position on the hydraulic pumps over here. Unfortunately, that is not modeled, so I am just about going to turn everything to auto. Not exactly the correct procedure there. Fuel on, packs off, and then beacon. Oh, cool. What else do we have? We are going to use VNAV. Pushback direction, nose to the left, please. We're going to use VNAV, we're going to use heading. You know what? We should not have been using heading here, so let's just about recycle that. Okay, VNAV is armed. Oh, did you see that? I turned the flight directors off, but VNAV stays armed. That should obviously not be the case. With the flight directors off, all those modes should be reset. So that's something they need to change. But anyway, can we deselect it? Yeah, we can. Interesting. Well, let's not play with it. Flight directors on, VNAV armed, and we're going to keep the toga mode initially. Okay, transponder on, and then let's go ahead with the checklist. Let me just quickly set my trim, 7.8 units. Here we go. Okay, before start checklist, passenger signs. On MCP, V2 170, heading 220, altitude 5000. Takeoff speeds 138, 151, 170. CDU pre-flight, completed. Trims. We've got 7.8, 0, and 0. Taxi and takeoff briefing completed. Beacon. Both before start checklist complete, and that means we are ready to go. I'm going to cancel that pack. Okay, we've got pack 1, 2, 3, engine shutdown, wing anti-ice switch off. Do we have an auto position there? Yeah, we do. Okay, then it goes in auto. Alright, cool. With that, we are ready to go, and the park and brake is released.
Commencing push.
Off block at 56, that's 6 minutes of delay, and I don't really know what we're going to put that on. We'll figure something out in flight. We've got 6.5 hours to do that. Cabin temperature caution. I guess it's probably getting rather warm. Let's see. Oh, not really. Okay, I don't know where that comes from, but I'm going to cancel it, and after the engines have started, we will do a recall anyway. Hey, that's going to be an interesting pushback. We have rather large wings here. I surely hope they aren't going to smash them into the terminal there. Are they running over the... Oh, look at that. We need an ambulance, please. They have run over the dispatcher. GSX is always good for a surprise, isn't it? Okay, it looks like they are about turning us fine onto the taxi line now. We're clear of any gates. Let's go ahead and start our engines. Starting engines number 4 and 3. Auto start in progress. From the clock. Notice the timer up here on the navigation display. Oh, that is tight if you look at the wings. That's really tight.
Cockpit to ground. We have a good engine start.
Okay, 2 good starts, starting numbers 1 and 2. By the way, I might be mistaken, but I do believe we should get a white light on the switches when the starters are actually engaging. Nice looking airplane, isn't it? But for now, back to the cockpit.
Tow truck disconnected. Bypass been removed. Left is clear. Right is clear.
Okay, that is 2 starters cut out, and then we have 4 good starts. You're clear to disconnect, you're with the clear signal on the right-hand side, and have a good day. Probably going to be somewhere down there. Okay, quick check. Generators are running, so APU can go off. Here he is. And he's holding a pin. Thank you very much. Clear to disconnect. Clear signal on the right-hand side with a pin, and have a good evening. Bye-bye. Okay, hydraulic panel is set already. The fuel system we'll check in a moment. Okay, bleed's on. Not sure about the APU bleed, to be honest. If you need to switch it off in here or not, or if that is automatic, but I guess that's where the 737 pilot in me comes up again, so I'm doing it anyway. Okay, flaps, speed brakes are down. Oh, what did I do? Yeah, they are. That's what I wanted. Let's go ahead and do the flight control track. Full up, full down, neutral, full left, full right, neutral, and the rudder, full left, full right, and neutral. Okay, recall. Let's just about see, the caution is gone. Okay, perfect. Then we can go ahead with the before taxi checklist. Anti-ice, auto, recall, checked, auto brake, RTO, flight controls, checked, ground equipment, clear, APU. It's shutting down. Okay, before taxi checklist complete. So we're clear on the left, clear on the right, let's go ahead. And start our taxi. Brake us off. So, out on Alpha, so left Tango Alpha, right turn Alpha, and then we can go straight out all the way till Delta Bravo. The important challenge is going to be to keep the ground speed in mind since we're sitting so high. That's always the thing with the 747. And then obviously oversteering, so that you end up with the main gears on the center line. This was a little bit too much now. and we're still losing a lot of energy here in the turns. So it's something I surely hope they are going to work on. So that's going to be the challenge, getting onto that taxiway now. From the normal seating position like this, I find it to be almost impossible to actually see those taxiways. So I just like to put my viewpoint a little bit higher during taxi here, as it should make our lives easier. Okay, so we're gonna cross that bridge. No aircraft stopping on bridge. There's probably not enough space on there in order to facilitate an evacuation should it become necessary. So if you think about how large this airplane is, and if you think about having to shoot a slide from the top over here, it might just about overshoot the bridge. And then passengers would fall all the way down, and that would kind of make the entire evacuation a little bit pointless. Sure, it would be quicker if they just stayed in the airplane. Okay then, right turn onto Alpha. I'm going a little bit quick here already again at 16 knots. Left is clear, right is clear. Yeah, that's what it looks like from the normal point of view. I'm going 14 knots on the turn again. Well, I'm speeding. It doesn't look that bad from the outside either when you're going that fast, because the airplane is just so entirely huge. If you think about, this is twice the length of the 737. The 737 would go until here, roundabout. That's just incredible, isn't it? Quick word on the airport map, by the way. As I said earlier, they seem to be using just a 3D top-down view of the airport file, but it is almost impossible to spot anything on here. If you want to know what a real-life airport map actually looks like, I can absolutely recommend you to have a look at the latest screenshots from the fly-by-wire A380. They posted really cool screenshots there of a custom airport map they made together with Navigraph, and that one looks really, really good. And actually that one looks really close to the real system as well. So that's something to keep in mind there. Okay, let's see, we're approaching Delta right now, so after that comes Delta Alpha, and after that comes Delta Bravo, which is where we want to do the left-hand turn. Let's take the power out. In the meantime, by the way, quick takeoff briefing, or quick review of the takeoff briefing. It's going to be a left-hand takeoff on runway 22 right, flaps 10 noise abatement procedure 2, increasing at 1,500 feet over here. Okay, here comes Delta Bravo. Let's start slowing it down. So, the takeoff. We continue on the runway heading. We are going to get radar vectors, most likely by the point we reach, most likely by the time we reach the 5 mile point. And I can tell you it's not even going to be most likely, but it is going to happen like that. By the way, did you see how I just overshot that turn? I was basically standing on the brakes the entire time, and I could hardly lose any speed. I had the same impression on the 787 already on yesterday's videos, so I do have a feeling that something is wrong with the brakes here, that they got really weakened. And that is not a good thing, at least in my opinion. Okay, crossing 31 right, clear on both sides. So yeah, those brakes are a little bit of a problem there. I surely hope they're going to do something about it to make them more effective again during taxi, because now I need almost full braking in order to achieve a decent deceleration rate. Okay, we should be clear of the runway, strobe lights going off. Let's continue the takeoff briefing then. We'll go first right, first left to the end. So left seat takeoff, runway 22 right, flaps 10 noise abatement procedure number 2, accelerating at 1,500, Radar vectors after 5 miles to the first waypoint. I surely hope that Arnav is going to do a better job today than it did yesterday. But in any case, we'll have a close look onto if Arnav engages and how it's going to work. Apart from that, emergencies, we can go straight out to the water, climb at 3000, and that is going to keep us safe. Any questions on the briefing? Probably not, so let's do the before takeoff checklist. Flaps. Flaps 10. Before takeoff checklist complete. And this, of course, should have been automatically filled, because the airplane is able to sense the flap position, and like that, it will fill itself up automatically. Quick last word here. I do not really know why we are seeing a Mach indication on the primary flight display. This should surely be indicated airspeed. Oh, interesting. I hit the select button and all of a sudden it goes to 264. That's not how it should work. We go 170. But at least we got 170 on the PFD now as well, which is what we're looking for. Okay, cool. And we are all ready to go. Not sure why the squawk detuned itself, but doesn't really matter. Okay, clear on the right, clear on the left. Again, they did do some changes to the terrain display, and that should be working without giving us an immediate red warning everywhere now. So I am gonna call up terrain on my ND and see how that is going to work. Okay, 1-2 to right, and we are pretty much ready to go. By the way, this was maximum braking that you just saw. In my opinion, by far not strong enough. So, quick thing then. This is the toga buttons over here. So I am going to make this a static takeoff. Okay, stabilized. Toga, will ya? Oh, yeah, it certainly helps if you're on the auto throttle. That was my mistake. But come on, airplane, give me toga. This is auto throttle disconnect. But this is on. I want toga, please. Here we go. Okay, perfect. Brakes are off. Thrust set. $80 knots. Rotate. Interesting. This almost felt like a tail strike. Okay, gear up. Even though I rotated at a normal rate, and I don't know. It felt like our tail hit the runway. About at the 10-degree position. Or at the 10-degree pitch. Well, I am going to ignore it for the purpose of the flight, but sure enough, if this was a real flight, then we would be investigating this. Okay, flap 5. Match the heading and go heading select. Flap 1. Got a fuel crossfeed config message there. We'll check that in a moment. And flaps up. I'll just keep flying it manually for a little bit. Okay, so autopilot, let's get it climbing up higher. Don't need to pitch down. Alternate events. Here we go. Looks better. Okay, let's go up to 10,000. And then start our left-hand turn towards ship. Let's say heading at 150 initially.
Bank angle, bank angle.
Ooh!
Bank angle, bank angle.
Come on. That's a little bit oversensitive.
Bank angle, bank angle.
Come on, autopilot. You can do better than that.
Bank angle.
But this looks to be about 32 degrees. That should not cause a bank angle. Normally that should happen from 35 degrees onwards.
Bank angle.
Nice to see this. At least we know the bank angle warning is working now. We gotta see the positive things there. Okay, climb me up higher and give me the after takeoff checklist, please. Got the landing gear, up, flaps, up, after takeoff checklist complete. Right, I'll put the seatbelts into auto, but keep listening. Only when passing 10,000, we should be getting the chime. Okay. Here we go. There's our chime. Good, so passing 10,000, let's do the 10 checks. Gonna keep the lights on till 18. And then let's have a quick look into the most important of our systems here, which is going to be the fuel system. But as you can see, the tanks are feeding as they should. We've got the main tanks number 2 and 3 from the override pumps, which are those and those, feeding all 4 engines. And when they run down to 9 tons, or to the value of the main tanks 1 and 4, then we're going to switch the override pumps off, and then each tank is going to feed its respective engine. Okay then, let's see if directs are going to work today. Let's go to ship, execute. I said execute. Hello, execute. Interesting, it doesn't allow me to execute on the VNAV page. Let's see if I go to lags. Nope. Interesting, only seems to work on the on-site FMC. That is obviously a bug. So, if the execute alert is illuminated and I'm on the VNAV or the lags page, I should be able to press it on either FMC. But at least the good news is we are following the flight plan. So it really looks like the developer was right when he contacted me after yesterday's video on the 787 where we had the enough trouble, that it was indeed caused by the little problem that we used to have with our vectored SID. And since I removed it on this one, it seems like enough is actually working. Let's give it another try. I want to go direct to blue. So towards blue. I'll try once more over here. Doesn't work. Okay, then I'll try over there. And it works. Okay. Yep, so yesterday's thing was a little bug then. But they identified it correctly just after the video, so I do certainly hope that it is going to be fixed very soon. Alright, so quick thing over here. Once more, let's just about get rid of the waypoints over here. We don't need those, but we want the airports. So, looking at the map over here, we should only see airports that have a runway longer than 2,000 meters at the moment. Now, if anybody of you wants to cross-check those airports over here, if they all indeed have a runway long enough, that'd be great. Okay, passing 18,000, set standard. Once and twice and 3 times, passing level 183, climbing 250. And since we're above the transition, we can switch the landing lights off. welcome to the US. So, looks like we reach our top of climb by dumper. And let's switch to weather on here. We do actually get a return, but this is the standard Microsoft Flight Simulator overlay. So if you look at that, we got a 2.5 degree down angle, and there is a little bit of weather indicated on our left. Well, yeah, it might or might not be true, but you get what I mean. If I go to the weather radar now, and right, I can't even deselect the auto mode. Okay, so, well, I was about to do some tests, but looks like we can't even do that. That's over weather radar. What do I need to say? There have been a couple of comments recently in the PMDG forums and in the PMDG areas if there was any improvement planned on including the weather radar, but you can see that even now on the default aircraft we can't even really access those, so there's really no sense including something like this in the PMDG aircraft because it's just useless. I think our SO will probably force working title to include this, but anyway, so be it. Okay, cool. So we're climbing out nicely. I'm going to keep the climb derate in. That's a little habit there from learning the A330 at the moment. In the A330 you got climb derates as well, and Airbus does recommend to use the highest possible derate for the entire climb if performance permits. So for that reason, I'm keeping the derate in here as well. That's contrary to my previous operator's philosophy, where we would have cancelled it out as soon as we were cleared above 15,000 feet. But in the Airbus, it seems they want to do that to conserve engine life and use a little bit more fuel instead. It's two different policies. Either of them has their right to be there. So that's just about how it's gonna go. All right, so we are nicely on the climb out. The last check on the VNAV page there, making sure that we actually go to the right altitude. But if you look at this, optimum 364, maximum 401. We are going to ignore the fuel on arrival right now. I am sure this is going to change eventually as we do step climbs, as the wind conditions change and so on. So we'll just about keep things as they are and start our flights towards Heathrow. I'll see you again at the top of climb. And look at that, when I'm switching to vertical speed, it's opening the speed window on Mach 0.95. I like to fly fast, but not that fast. That's still a little thing they need to address. The 787 did the same thing yesterday, so, well. Okay, we reached our cruising level, 370. Let's put it back in a VNAV. That looks good. Mach 0.851. Nice little cruising speed there. Let's go ahead and do a very quick fuel check. We got 61.3 on board, and we're in the air now for, what does the elapsed time say, 17 minutes. Let's go ahead and cross-check that against our operational flight plan. And here we go, top of climb, 17 minutes. That is just about perfect, and we should have 59.1. Now keep in mind we loaded up a ton extra, so according to the plan we should be at 60.1 right now. We're at 61.2, so we saved about a ton of fuel. Now, makes about sense because we pretty much had no delay in the taxi at all, and some of you might want to go back and check our fuel that we had on takeoff, but I'm pretty sure it was more than what was planned by the operational flight plan. Apart from that, coming along nicely. We can do another check over at Islas over here, or Isles. Should be 20 minutes and 58.6, so we saved a little bit of fuel there, as we figured earlier. Which is good, seeing that our FMC does forecast that we're going to arrive with a negative amount of fuel. So that is definitely a good thing for us if we have a little bit more. I wonder if I can influence this by entering an average wind component. Let's say we go to Jenny, Throttle 370. And let's just about go into the flight plan and take an average wind component, which we can find all the way to the top. So the average for the flight is going to be 258 at 50. So how about we just enter that and see what happens. 258 at 50. Let's see. Yep, it did recalculate. It still tells me we are landing with negative fuel, but we're looking good compared to the operational flight plan, so we'll just about go ahead and keep it flying and see what's going to happen. In the worst case, we're going to end up in Dublin. Apart from that, keeping an eye on the fuel. You might have seen me checking the pressurization system there as we climbed up, since that is rather new in the aircraft as well. So we got our cabin pressurization up here. And as you saw in the climb passing Throttle 300, it was already up at 8,000 feet cabin altitude. Might be worth having a look at on the next sector just to see what's going to come out of this. But overall, nothing to complain about so far. I would say now it's time to sit back, relax, and enjoy the flight over to London. And I will see you again as we approach our North Atlantic entry for a little update over there. We're approaching Yoke, which is going to be our North Atlantic entry point. Now, there are a couple things that we want to do before we enter the pond, so let's quickly bring up our flight plan once again and go over a couple of those. Now, this is not going to be designed as a tutorial, this is more like a little, I want to show you a little more of the functions of the 747. So first of all, we are filed for Throttle 380 by Yoke. And if we go down to the North Atlantic track message, we can see that flying eastbound, Throttle 380 is actually included on this track. So the track is available at level 340, 350, 360, 370, 380, 390 and 400. That means that Throttle 380, as planned by our dispatch, is going to be available for us. The next question is it going to make sense? And if we look at this, optimum 367, maximum 400, but keeping in mind that we are probably not going to get another flight level change all the way until we reach our net exit, which is going to be almost at London already. So we're looking at the exit down here. We might as well consider the step climb far above the optimum. We might even request flight level 390 over here. The question, however, is if that's going to make much sense with the wind, because climbing out of the tailwind, which is a lovely 70 knots at the moment, would kind of not make sense. So if you just about look at this, we can see that the winds are going to decrease above level 380. The same applies here from Yoke, and then later at 60 west it decreases by almost 10 knots, and at 50 west it's better when you're lower as well. So 380, like our dispatch has planned, definitely seems to be a good level. So let's go ahead and test the step climb function of our 747, which they did a little bit of work on, in that you should now only need a single click, versus previously you needed multiple in order to make the climb. So that's level 380 set. I'm going to click it once, and indeed it goes to thrust ref, enough speed. Well, let's go vertical speed straight away. And look at that, it increased to Mach 0.95 again. We aren't going to do that. The next thing we want to check on is what dispatch planned for us on the Atlantic crossing, so which speed they have planned. And looking at this, they seem to have planned us at 0.84. Now, we could obviously request something higher. The question is, do we need to? And do we have the fuel for it? But look at this, we're scheduled to arrive at 5:15, and looking at the FMC, we're estimated to arrive at 5:41. Okay, so we certainly want to go as fast as possible. And for that, I would say we can request to cruise at 0.86 then. Let's go ahead and insert that. 0.86, thank you. And this is new as well. When you're entering a speed, it now lights up the execute button, which is something that I did mention on an earlier video, so they listened once again, which I'm very happy about. So, flight level 380, VNAV, and you can see it's now targeting 0.86. Nice. Now, one more thing over here would be strategic lateral offset, but I do not think that they implemented offset in the airplane over here. I do not think they did. Normally you should find it on the route page, but it doesn't look like it. Do we have it anywhere over here? Probably not, so I'm just about going to assume that they didn't simulate strategic lateral offset, or offset at all, I should say. So for that, we're going to keep it as it is. The one other thing I wanted to show you is a little bit more of our fancy fix page, and for that we can go down in the OFP towards our ETOPS section, which I probably just scrolled over. Yep, I did, here it is. So, we are using Charlie Yankee Yankee Tango and ein N. And for that, we might enter them in the fix page over here, or we can enter the ETOPS entry and exit point as custom waypoint. So what I'm going to do is the following. We'll take Charlie Yankee Yankee Tango, and then let's see how much of a distance it lets us draw, because there are different limits on different aircraft. Let's say we take 430 over here, which does work. Perfect. Then we can go ahead and go to ein N, which is Shannon, and draw a 430-mile ring over there as well. So that's going to be the parts of the Atlantic which are going to be covered by suitable airports. We can also enter La Fès from the Azores down here, and we could use Keflavik from Iceland. However, they're probably going to be out of range. But we can try this LPLA and draw a 430-mile ring around there as well. However, we are not going to get into that. So that's really just going to be for reference, like, if we really need to land somewhere, there's going to be an airport. Apart from that, we can enter our equal time point, and I am going to do that on the ActiveLex page. So we got different ones down here, and we are just about going to use the first. Now, I wonder if it is possible in this airplane to create a custom named waypoint. Doesn't look like it though. At least not if it would function similar to the 737. But let's try anyway. Let's call it ETP. Oh no, the station exists already with that name. Okay, then we can't do that. In that case, we can call it Charlie Yankee Yankee Tango Echo India November November. Not in database. Okay, that's unfortunate. In the 737, there is a page over here on the nav data page where you can add custom waypoints. And I kind of hope to be able to create a fancy ETOPS waypoint like that, but it doesn't look like that is working, so what we can do nonetheless is just to enter it by the coordinates, and that's what I'm going to do. So we got north 4748.6. And west 03113.1. And that's obviously going to be in front of the 30 west point. Here we go. So that's going to be our equal time point. Let's see if we can put that onto the fix page. Yes, we can. Okay, very cool. I'm going to draw a little ring around there just to be sure that we see it better. And that's going to be it. Okay. So with that, we are now pretty much prepared for our Atlantic crossing. Obviously, we would have checked the weather as well and stuff like that. But keep in mind, everything we have on the flight plan over here is only planning minima. And once we're in flight, there will be other minimas that are going to apply. Okay, one more check at the fuel system. just to get a rough idea when we need to switch the fuel tanks, because I haven't tried this yet, and therefore I'm not 100% confident if the fuel tank to engine alert is going to show. So I just want to back myself up here. We can see we got currently 11 tons more in the main tanks per side than in the main tanks 2 and 3 than in the main tanks 1 and 4. For that reason, let's now check how much we are going to use per hour, and that's going to be 4 tons. So in order to use up those 11 tons, we're looking at something in the region of around a little bit less than 3 hours. In other words, at about 0300 UTC, we will have to expect having to switch those engine or those fuel tanks around. So we are going to keep that in mind as we fly along, and then we'll do the switching as time permits. Now, looking at this, we have a lovely sunset ahead of us on the Atlantic Ocean, and then we should have a lovely sunrise by the time we get over to the UK. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. Let's see if we can find a good perspective for this. Yeah, that looks good to me. We are now crossing 20 West, and apart from doing a fuel check, I also want to use the opportunity to go a little bit over the different lights we have available in the flight deck here in the 747. So let's go ahead and do both of it. And the first thing at 60 West is obviously we are going to check our fuel to make sure that we are still running fine. And looking into the flight plan, here we have 60 West. So we should be here an hour and 17 into the flight, and let's see, elapsed timer. We are an hour and 15 into the flight, so we're running 2 minutes ahead of schedule. We should have 50 tons of fuel, 51 with our extra fuel that we took, and we had 53.8, so we saved a little bit more fuel compared to our operational flight plan. Also note that the estimated fuel on arrival is slowly going upwards. It's 3 tons right now, which is a fairly good thing from our initial -6.5 that we started with. I assume that this does not take the wind into account, even though it did change when we entered the winds. But obviously we only entered an average wind component, so that must not necessarily make much of a difference. But it seems that the estimated fuel is going up as we fly along, so we are just going to keep an eye on that. Also, a good thing to have a look at is the fuel used, 16.1 we should have used at the moment, and we can always check this. Well, I thought we could check it, but looks like that stuff is actually not simulated on the progress page up here. Over here would be our fuel used totalizer, but that is dashed out, so it looks like they aren't simulating that at the moment. Maybe it's going to come for the future, would be nice, since the fuel used is an essential part of the fuel checks that we would do. Because you might always develop a fuel leak, but if you started with 3 tons of fuel more than you initially were planned to have, like the situation we have right now, where we have 3 tons more in the tanks than what was originally planned, and then you start losing fuel at a rate of maybe 1 ton per, 1 ton per hour, but you're doing a 15-hour flight over the Pacific, where you are 9 hours away from any good airports, with only a couple of small suitable runways along the route, then it would always be good if you had the ability to just add up the fuel on board plus the fuel used, and that should end up in the amount of fuel that you loaded up on the ground. That's also, by the way, what the fuel totalizer over here and the fuel calculated over here are for. The fuel totalizer is basically the value that you're getting right from here, from the ICAS, and from the fuel quantity indicating system. And the calculated is basically the fuel that the FMC thought it had at the beginning of the flight, minus the fuel used over here. And like that, you can compare the totalizer of what you have on board and what the FMC thinks you have on board. Okay, apart from that, let's have a very quick look into the different lights that we have available up here in the cockpit. We're going to start with some of the obvious stuff, which obviously is the dome light. You can see it doesn't do all that much of a difference here on the front end of the cockpit, which is kind of strange if you ask me, because it should. The dome light is the big thing we have back here, so it really should light up the entire front of the cockpit and not only the lower part, as you can see over here. So that's something that they still need to improve on. Apart from that, we have our glare shield lights. This is the background. This is the floodlight that we can use. Just to give you an idea what the different lights look like when they are turned. Then we have the ale stand. Let me just get into a position where you can see it a little bit nicer. By the way, this is a great view, isn't it? This is really a great view. Just comes to my mind. I'm gonna take a screenshot. That's probably gonna become the title picture of, or the thumbnail of the video. Okay, so this should be the lower pedestal there. Yep, it is. Come on, menu. You may vanish. Right, that's that. Then obviously we have the controls on the left side over here for the main panel backlighting and the main panel floodlighting, like this. I'm just about going to turn it all the way back up. In the end, we want to avoid getting tired, so keeping the lights up as bright as possible is certainly a good thing. And then we have a map light, which should be on the left side over here. Probably not simulated, is it? I can't spot any change over here. Maybe you can. Yeah, then we got our display brightness, but I'm not going to touch those. Well, I am. This is just about what it looks like. This one's not simulated. That should be the chart brightness over here. But since we got that dummy EFB over here, which I, by the way, certainly hope they haven't made just a 3D model, but I do hope that a third party is going to be able to add something in there. Maybe that's something for salty simulations. I do believe they are working on an EFB at the moment. Okay, and then obviously we have the same thing on the FO side. So that's about the most important lights that we have at the moment. And well, obviously there's the overhead, like this. And the storm light switch, unfortunately, is not simulated. The storm light would basically turn all the lights up to maximum level. But looks like we don't have that. Okay, so with all of that discussed, I'd say we go back to relaxing and maybe catch a little bit of sleep before we land in London in about 5 hours' time. We have another rather interesting development over here. As you can see, there is a huge thunderstorm cell shown there on the weather radar. And even though when I'm looking over there, I can still see the stars, so it does not really seem... well, it just seems like another stupid solar weather radar to me, if I'm honest with you. Let's see if we can see anything more from the outside, but we can't. It's all dark. I'm 99% sure on the simulator we could simply fly over this, but... we don't want to do that for now, so I'm just about going to keep flying around it. Also note how we had that huge black area there at first, and about 40 miles in front of it, when I wanted to fly through that, all of a sudden it turned red. Now, yes, in real life, one storm can shadow the other. No, it should not work the way it did on this radar, because there were returns in the back of that, and there were rather strong returns there, so I'm just not going to do any further comment on that, and I just hope that this lovely little thunderstorm there, which is, by the way, much bigger than anything I would expect in real life, I just hope that we'll be able to fly around that. Now, this is, of course, the point where where it would be very handy to have an offset, because that is how you would navigate around it in real life in the North Atlantic area. Unfortunately, we don't have that, so we need to use heading select, and I'm just about going to steer us around it like this. Now, it is worth saying that we will be using a lot of fuel on this, because the cell is just much bigger than anything I would expect in real life. But we just about have to find our way around it, so let's see how that works. And let's see how that's going to work out with the fuel. Okay, so we are basically around the red area, so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna overfly the amber area over here, because once again, I'm 99% sure that in the simulator there is actually nothing over there, and that it is simply, well, another case of a solo stupid weather radar. But this is pretty much exactly the situation I meant in all of my earlier videos talking about that weather radar, in that we can, well, at night just not see anything, so we have to rely totally on the radar image. And by circumnavigating this, we really just about have to trust it. And look at that, we're now 100 nautical miles off from our standard track, so that is really very extreme. In real life you would hardly find any weather cells that are this big. Well, you simply wouldn't find any, because without being a scientist, I can guesstimate that this is probably as much energy in here as a lot of nuclear bombs combined. And, well, go figure from there. What's also interesting to see there is that the more we fly along here, looking at the radar, the returns in front of us simply disappear. So, look at that. This black hole in front of us simply remains. So that's possibly an indication that all of this is below us. Now, if our radar would have allowed us to turn the tilt of the antenna, then that would certainly have helped to figure that out, but unfortunately it doesn't. So, there you go. We probably wasted so much fuel on this that ultimately we might have to commit to landing at London Heathrow, and even have to go into our alternate fuel, but we'll see about that by the time we get closer to our destination. Obviously, the next interesting point is that, seeing how far we had to go off track, we would probably have flown into a whole different North Atlantic track by the time we have navigated this. So, yeah. This is just Microsoft Flight Simulator at its best. This is not how these things would have looked like in real life. But, yeah, I suppose we just about have to live with it. Obviously, at this point, if there wasn't too much traffic, spoiler, there will be too much traffic. If there wasn't too much traffic, we could request rerouting via a more northerly track, because I'm rather sure we have already crossed another North Atlantic track over here. Oh, look at that, how it just inserted a new weather front. Lovely. Anyway, this time we're going to go through the green over here. This is just... This weather system over here is just awful, honestly. I'm already debating in my head if I should simply fly straight through it, because this is just not realistic. But well, I'm going to keep turning my heading buck here a little bit in order to navigate around it, and then if there's any significant new development, I will keep you advised. Alright, and here we have it. That is pretty much exactly what I meant. I'm going right over the red areas of the weather radar, and just ahead of us it turns totally black. So in other words, this is probably a weather system that lies somewhere down low, at an altitude where we would not have to care at all, and the weather radar just made us fly at least an additional 100 or 200 nautical miles. So it's going to be a very interesting fuel check by the time we reach our next waypoint at 30 west. It's going to be a very interesting fuel check to see how much we wasted and if we can make it to our destination or not. And if we can't make it to our destination because of that, well, thank you, Microsoft. Alright, and we just got the fuel tank to engine message. Now, that means that our fuel tanks should be at equal levels right now. Let's have a look at that. And indeed, they are all at 9 tons. So now we can switch the override pumps off, and the individual tanks are going to support the individual engines. So let's go ahead. Override pumps. Oops. Here we go. Override pumps are off. Look at that. And this is just about perfect. And we can also go ahead and close the fuel trust feed valves. And as we can see, the fuel tank to engine message is done now. And now the individual tanks are feeding the individual engines. I'm not 100% sure what those green arrows are down there. It pretty much looks like fuel is transferred from the main tank number 1 into main tank number 2. And respectively from main tank 4 into main tank 3. But I didn't even know the 747-8 could do that. In any case, we can see the fuel tank to engine portion is now there and is now working. So that is the very good news of the evening. Another quick recall. And as we can see, no further messages there. So we should be good to go. Also, we are navigating back towards our route. We are now 1 mile off the route line, so LNAV should capture any moment and should turn us back onto the route. But I'm sure that you will agree. Here we go, LNAV capture, and we are turning back towards the route. 0.3 miles off the route. I wonder if it's going to overshoot. And indeed it is overshooting. So the LNAV should have captured a little bit earlier. Normally your aircraft would not overshoot in these situations. Interesting as well, by the way, one thing that we can just about see on the screen right here. This is the equal time point that we have created earlier in the flight. Now, this is the waypoint we copy-pasted from the legs page, from the equal time point, into the fixed page. Now, this is not quite correct behavior. Even though the name of the waypoint is abbreviated up here into 48 North, 31 West, it should be stored on the exact location like it is on here, exactly on our route. When I copy-paste the waypoint from here, one that is custom created, into the fixed page, then the fixed page should center exactly on the waypoint. Instead, what the fixed page apparently did over here is to center on 48 North, 31 West exactly, ignoring any of the coordinates that came after that in our flight plan when we inserted the waypoint. So that is some behavior that needs a look at over there. Also, as I told you earlier on, we've got the Azore Islands down here, if we need them for diversion. We aren't using them for our EROPS planning, because we are just using Canada and Ireland today, but we'd have them down here just in case we need to divert. Around 500 miles away, so pretty much an hour and 15 minutes of flight time if you take into consideration that you also have to slow down for landing until we could get somebody on the ground. So that's roughly the situation we have in cruising flight. So I wonder what the fuel check is going to look like at 50 West, because as I said, we wasted a lot of fuel because the weather radar showed us some red returns of some weather that was probably somewhere close to the surface and therefore totally irrelevant for us. But in daylight I tend to ignore that because I can see where the weather is. At nighttime, unfortunately, I cannot. So I had to avoid it. Okay, we got a couple more ICAS messages there. Fuel override 2 off, fuel override 3 off, fuel thrust feed config. Okay, let's have another look at the fuel page. Okay, I wonder where that comes from, because normally we shouldn't need the override pumps anymore. Now they're gone. Let's recall that. Oh, now they're gone. Okay. I don't know where that came from, because as far as I'm concerned, our fuel configuration is correct right now. Oh, let's keep the page open and see how things are going to develop as we fly along. Let's keep it open. We are reaching 30 west, so it is time for the fuel check to see how things are developing now. Also, I had an eye on the fuel, but it looks to me like the fuel is just about progressing normally, so I don't know why we're getting those portions. But I'll play with it in a moment. But first things first, we're crossing 30 west, so let's go ahead and run our fuel check. Yes, our OFP. We also crossed the equal time point, by the way. We've been looking good on the fuel on that one. But now comes the interesting one, which is going to be 30 west. So we should be 3 hours 40 in the air, and we should have 30.1. And if you look at this, we actually have 33.3. So we still got 2 tons more fuel than we should. And let's now have a look at the elapsed timer on the stat page. 3 hours 51. So we lost 11 minutes circumnavigating that weather. But we are still looking good on the fuel. Still have 2 tons more than we're planned to have. Now, my best explanation for that is really that in the planning stages, SimBrief just used a higher fuel flow than our airplane actually has. We're just about halfway through the flight, by the way, a little bit further, so if we check the fuel flow now, we should have an average fuel flow of 8.6 tons per hour. So just go to the engine page and compare that. We're running at 8 tons an hour, so indeed we're using 600 kilos an hour less than the flight plan has calculated. So that does of course explain why we are not running into any fuel issues right now. Obviously, if we had an accurate planning tool, then we would probably be running a bit lower fuel right now. Only 11 minutes, so we're flying with 19 minutes of contingency fuel over here, so we would have eaten into our contingency, but still have plenty of fuel available. So that it would not have become an issue, but nonetheless, it would be something to think about. And you probably saw me flying through one of those red cells a little bit later, because I just figured I couldn't be bothered anymore. The entire thunderstorm area was so huge that, honestly, the simulator was just giving shit at us there. That's not what a weather cell or what a weather system looks like in real life. And most importantly, we should have been able to use the radar to determine where we can go and where not. But, well, you've seen the limits of this radar in action once more. The other thing, I want to get rid of those ICAS messages there, so let's just do what it supposes. That's fuel override 2 off, fuel override 3 off. So we got the override 2 and 3. Probably want both of them back on. Let's give it that. Now we got the fuel thrust feed config, because it probably doesn't like having those thrust feeds off. Or maybe it wants those off? Well, I'll give it a try with those first, but they're guarded, so I don't expect them to be right. Okay, now they're off, but the caution actually stays with us. Okay, that is strange. Basically, this means the airplane is asking us to return to the previous fuel configuration. So we're going to open all the thrust feeds, like this. Valves are in transit. And now the main tanks number 2 and 3 are supplying all 4 engines once again, which brings up the fuel tank to engine message. There's got to be something wrong here. Now the fuel tank to engine is gone. Well, let's keep an eye on that. Let's see how that's going to develop. But it seems strange to me. Yeah, there it is again. But the tanks are balanced. There is the same quantity of fuel in every one of those main tanks. So, I see absolutely no reason why the fuel should behave like that. Oh, you know what? I'm gonna turn those off again. Oh no, those are the main pumps. Those are the override pumps. Okay. Now it is in the configuration where I believe it should be. And if another message shows, I'm going to ignore it. We're gonna fly like this. Alright. So with that settled, it's not all that far anymore to London. So let's take the last bit of time that we have here in cruise to relax a little bit more and actually try to get ourselves into the mood for landing at one of the world's biggest airports and at Vatten's busiest airport. We're approaching Atsu, and with that we are leaving the North Atlantic track system. We can see the sun is about to come up, and looking outside we have a beautiful view here of our 747. Now, however, it is about time to do a quick fuel check, and then we've still got to climb back to our normal cruising levels. Keep in mind that on the North Atlantic we had some different assigned cruise levels, and that we could fly an even level going eastbound. This is no longer the case since we've left the North Atlantic. So first thing for us to do is going to be the fuel check. And here we got it, passing Atsu. We should be 4 hours 59 into the flight, and we should have 19.4 tons. We have 22.8, so we saved quite a bit of fuel there. And looking at our time en route, 4 hours 59 versus 5 hours and 9. So we're about 10 minutes behind, which can easily be explained with our little weather circuit navigation. Also, good to have a look at the fuel remaining over here, which is now 10.8 tons. So we can now be sure to have sufficient fuel available over at Heathrow. And finally, our optimum flight level is going to be 392, 400 miles to the top of descent, so it does still make sense to climb up instead of descending back down to 370. So for that reason, we are going to climb to flight level 390. Well, let's say that there's not a lot of traffic. By now we are under radar control from Shannon, so we can do our step climb towards level 390. Set. Check. Alternative end. Updated. Updated. I'm going to limit the vertical speed to 1,000 feet a minute, and no, we aren't going to fly at such a high Mach number. Also, we can go back to econ speed, which is going to be 843, so let's get that back towards 84. And with that, we can already start looking into the weather at our destination, Heathrow, to start building up our mental picture of what we can expect on our arrival. Now, I'll just about get us a little bit closer before we start doing all that, so that you guys can enjoy the beautiful sunrise in here. And then I see you a little bit closer to Heathrow Airport. We are slowly but steadily approaching Heathrow Airport. We are just now overflying Everin, where I'm going to do the final fuel check for the flight. So let's quickly bring up Sim Toolkit, and then we'll be almost there. So, looking for Everin over here, which is the FAR border towards the London FAR. 5 hours 36 is the schedule with 14.6 tons of fuel. So if you look at that, we've got 18.4, and then looking at the statistics for 5 hours and 45 minutes into the flight. So we're catching up with a little bit, but not as quickly as, well, let's put it that way, we aren't going to make an on-time arrival on this one, but that is fine. Ultimately, we are looking for realism, aren't we? And Now tell me how many flights actually arrive on time. In any case, there is an interesting development in that they have switched around the landing runways, so they're landing on 27 right now in Heathrow. So we just about got to switch around a couple of the charts, and we got to start preparing our aircraft for that. We can get the taxi chart for the 747-8 because it has such a huge wingspan that we really got to be careful with all of those. So let's actually use the 747-8 dedicated charts over here. But first things first, we gotta change our stuff in the FMC. So, departure arrival, we are still gonna fly the Zurich 1 hotel arrival, but things are gonna look a bit different now, and that we'll land on 27 right. And then we are still going to use the Ockham transition. So let's see what that's gonna look like in the FMC. We've got Zurich here at 14,000 feet. From there we fly towards Nidget. So Zurich, Nidget. Then we got Lima Lima Whiskey 03, max 250 knots. We have that. And then we continue towards Ockham, maximum speed 220 at flight level 70 to join the holding. Okay then, from there we join the ILS approach runway 27 right, which we have on chart 11-4. And we should have a transition chart as well, actually. Stand by 1 second. Here we go, initial approach from Ockham, that is what we're looking for. So we're going to leave Ockham on the radial 074 for 7 miles, which is Ockham 7 at the minimum holding level, so we're going to maintain 70 over there and 220 knots. Then we continue until 11 DME Ockham, which is above 6,000 feet. That's going to be the kilo point, above 6,000. And then at 12 DME Ockham, which is the Lima point, left turn heading 358, and we got 358 track to intercept. And then we're going to turn towards the final. So, center fix, that's 10 miles out, 3,000 feet. And in here we have the 10-mile point at 3,000 feet. And from there we join the ILS, runway 27 right. The final fix, Fox India 27 Romeo, is over here, 2,500 feet. I'm going to make it a speed restriction of 180 knots over there, to be sure that we actually get our stuff under control. And that makes it 200 knots by the 10-mile ring, which is fine for me as well. The 747 decelerates quite well. Okay, it's going to be 3-degree glide path down to a minimum of 278 feet. We still got to set that. But let's quickly check the missed approach, which is climb straight ahead when passing 1580 or 0 DME, whichever is later. Climbing turn right on track 316 to 3000, then as directed. So in here we got runway track till 1580 after the runway point. So the runway point basically is the 0 DME. Then 1580 on the runway track and then right turn 316 climb the 3000, so our FMC is correct there. So let's quickly go ahead and select our minimums. We said that was 278. Okay, here we go, 278. I'm getting better at this. I am getting better at this. Okay, also we can have a very quick look into the current weather situation over at London, and we've got a wind variable at 25 degrees, 1014. So that's pretty much that. Okay, then quick look at the radio navigation page. We've got the ILS 10.3269 on the courses, and we don't need anything tuned for the missed approach. Okay, then, let's go to the VNAV page. 314 knots looks good. 240 below 10,000 is fine as well. Forecast page, transition level is going to be 7.5 actually. Oh, come on, that little click spot over the clear button there is a little bit annoying. Oh, come on. Why can't I click anything now? Do I really need to pull the speed brake in order to get that click spot? That's annoying. Okay, 075, then we can insert a couple of winds as well to make things a bit more accurate, but looking at it, it doesn't really look like there's a lot of winds to insert for us anyway. Unfortunately, the request function is grayed out, but that is fine still. I suppose Microsoft doesn't want to connect to any service that it cannot control. Okay, 227 at 6, then at level 200 we got 192 at 8, so you can see it's really light and variable there. So it shouldn't have too much of an influence, but nonetheless, On a long haul, you know, we had the last 5 hours to do something like that, so it becomes pretty hard to justify not doing it. And finally 140 at 11. Okay, nice. So that should pretty much be all. Finally then, let's go ahead and I want a little fixed ring around Heathrow. 25 miles for MSA awareness and 3,000 feet is going to keep us safe. If we look at this, it's basically 2,100 in most sectors, 2,200 in the northwest, so we're basically safe anyway. Okay, for the taxi we're going to vacate the runway, Alpha 10 Echo the earliest, which is like the second exit into our direction, and then we are going to join either Alpha or Bravo going down here to Terminal 5B or Terminal 5C. Maybe we can find a little bit of info over there. Okay, that should pretty much be it. Do you have any questions about the approach briefing? I surely hope you don't. So let's go ahead. Auto brakes, I'm going to try level 1, see what's going to happen. Most importantly, that is just to see if the auto brakes are going to function properly or if I'm getting too much braking like I do on the 787. So that's just a little test there. With that, recall. Still have those messages which I cancelled earlier, but if we look at the fuel page, then we can see that the stuff is actually working. Interesting that it tells me over here that it's transferring fuel from the reserve tanks into the main tanks because, well, we do not have any fuel in the reserve tanks. But it is what it is, so that is fine for us in the end as well. The important thing here, we managed our fuel well. We still have plenty in every tank to supply every engine, so that we don't fail an engine again like we did in the last one. Okay then, time to read the descent checklist. Recall, checked, auto brakes, level 1, landing data. VREF, oh, I keep forgetting about that. Okay, so 13.8 it says, that means we're going to burn roughly 4,000 kilograms. Let's be a little bit conservative, take 3.5, so that gives me something 317.1. We're going to do a flap 30 landing out of this. So we've got VREF 3154, minimums 278 set, approach briefing completed, descent checklist complete. Okay, nice. So with that, we are pretty much ready to go, and I see you a little bit further down the ladder. Oh, now that's interesting. We crossed over at the top of descent. The altitude is selected down, but we aren't descending. It's staying in cruise mode. Look at that. That's strange. Normally with the MCP altitude turned down, it should have started the descent on its own. Let's see what happens if we press the alternate event button. Oh, there we go. Well, that's interesting. To my knowledge, that is not how the plane should behave. That is Airbus logic, if you need to press the button in order to initiate the descent. But that shouldn't be Boeing logic. In any case, we're now going down. Might have to use a little bit of speed brake in order to catch back up with the path. We'll see about that. Well, I might just about increase the speed a little bit. Let's say give me 320 knots. Oh, where's my Mach number? No! No! That is not what you're supposed to do, airplane. I want to see what happens. I want to see what happens. Okay, speed, enough path. Surely that should not be 0.9. It should have stayed at 0.84 or wherever it was previously. This is interesting. Well, let's see what it's going to do now. Certainly the passengers would be tossed around at the moment. And now it's diving again. Drag required VNAV. Yep. I do get that. It left the area up here. But it should surely not be going up to 0.9 now. Come on, airplane. Let's do this. Okay, here we go. That looks better. Let's keep monitoring if it goes into the overspeed. It should have protections against that. Okay, now we re-intercepted the path. Well, That was a little interesting descent there. Also interesting that I clicked away the drag required VNAV message on the left CDU, but on the right CDU it's still there. That shouldn't happen as well. When it cleared on one, it should clear both. But okay, we are now descending. Just for the fun of it, I want to play around a little bit with our speed brakes to see what kind of an effect they have. So you can see them over here. Let's start pulling them out to see what's going to happen and how strong their effect is these days. So this is full speed brake, slowing down slightly. Yeah. Interesting, we could just pull it over the flight detent. So this is the flight detent. This is the maximum we should get. Now it's adding thrust again, okay. Anyway, if you remember my very first video flying the 747, you will notice that this has gotten a lot better. Surely ain't perfect yet, but they're on the right track. And that's the important thing here. And we're IMC now. Temperature is good, plus 15 degrees, so the anti-ice correctly stays off. Keep in mind, it is in auto mode now. They do simulate in auto mode now, so anti-ice is off, stays off. Very good. Would be interesting to see the temperatures fall below 10 degrees right now, just to see if the anti-ice would turn on. I suppose the system is probably a little bit more complex than that, but I'm kind of tempted just to reduce my speed all the way to min clean, just to see if I can get the temperature to drop below 10, but, well, let's not mess around with that, shall we? I'm sure we'll still find ample opportunity to test our anti-ice at work. Don't have to do it now. Okay, we're approaching the VNAV path again. I'm just about waiting until it comes a bit closer, doing a nice 500 feet a minute descent right now. And by the time we fly back into the VNAV path, I'll re-engage VNAV. In the meantime, London less than 20 miles away now. We just gotta fly around the airport. For those who are familiar with it, I'm sure you're gonna recognize the lakes we see over there. And you know where we are right now, do you? Okay, here comes the VNAV path. VNAV. Idle VNAV speed. And we can go down to flight level 70. There we go, VNAV path is captured. Speed is coming down nicely towards 250 knots, which we should theoretically have had at the Lima Lima Whiskey 03 that we're passing right now, which would have been a speed reduction point or deceleration point, so I'll help the plane a little bit, do a bit of speed brake, see how effective that thing is. Here we go. Also have a drag required VNAV message, clear that, and that should have cleared it on the other side as well, but I don't care. So this looks like a very nice deceleration here. Seeing that we pulled it all the way to the flight detent, this is what we get. That definitely looks believable. Much better than the earlier versions we've seen. Nice, 250 knots, that's what we should have. Speed brake is stowed once again. We're approaching 10,000 feet, so let's go ahead. Click on the lights. Next light to come with a landing clearance. And fortunately the PA button isn't working now there, that's a bit of a pity, but so be it. Cabin crew, 10 minutes to landing. Okay, TCAS below, and I wonder why the transponder went back to 2000. I'm fairly positive that prior to our departure I reset this towards 2000 already, and for some reason it went back towards the only 2 as well. I don't know why it's doing that, but so be it. Wow, getting out of the clouds. So down there is Heathrow, and up there is London. We will be overflying it on our way in. So that definitely promises to become an exciting approach right over the city of London. Even more exciting for me because I'm still new to my RTX 4090 graphics card, and I'm really wondering what it's going to look like and what the performance is going to be like. With my old computer with the 3080 Ti, I would have been unable to depart New York like this. I would have been unable to land in Heathrow like this. But with the new graphics card, it all seems quite different. Hey, down there is our airport. Nice and close. Look at that. Beautiful sim, isn't it? So, passing over at Auckland. Can we see the VOR down there somewhere? Nah, I can't really spot it. But it's gotta be somewhere over here. If we just made the turn. Okay, 7000 by 7 DME. That looks good to me. We're reducing speed. 220 would be the target. Now, 224 is a clean speed, so I'm going to keep it at the clean speed. Those 4 knots don't matter anyway. Okay, let's set it all the way down to 3000. Actually, 2500 to intercept here in London. That set altimeter 1014. At 3 times, passing 7.8, descending 2500. No flex, and altimeter are set. Okay, approach checklist. Altimeters 1014, passing 7620 now. Approach checklist complete. Very quick point, by the way, while I see it. Look at the line drawing over here. That is almost perfect. Not to say that is perfect. That's exactly what we want to see in this situation. Very well done. On the other hand side, on the left side here, we can see our target speed has changed below the up speed. That should definitely not happen. But as our airplane is decelerating below it, we might as well just go flat 1. Speed checked. And that brings our target further down, but we don't want to do that, so let's go speed and event 220. In real life, I would just have speed and evented it to 224, but I want to see how the VNAV is performing over here when I do stuff like this, so for that reason I just kept it the way I did. Okay, the River Thames all the way up, and this is London. Sure, some of you are going to recognize some of the areas down there as we get closer. We're about to turn base. We can start our reduction towards 200 knots now. Okay, passing 12 miles. That means we can continue our descent. And indeed, it is dropping a little bit. Flap 5. Speed checked. FMC message. Track required. Yeah, it has that already. I get it, some flaps. Hey, flap 5. Look at this. Okay, turn and base. Speed coming nicely back to 180 knots. We are re-intercepting the profile over here. So, crossing next point about 3,500. We're certainly going to do that. 180 knots for the base. That is pretty much the ICAO standard speed. So that looks quite good the way we are right now. And we're right on the glide as well. That's just perfect. That's exactly what we're looking for. Talk about looking for. Have a look out here. That's incredible, isn't it? Especially now that I'm looking around here in the cockpit, and it is totally smooth. I don't know how the recording software captures that, if there may be any stutters in the recording, but at least on my computer here, it is absolutely smooth. And that is flying from the busiest area in the world to the busiest area in Batsim, in one of the most busiest airspaces in the world. So that is just incredible. I really have to say that 1490 really stuns me what it can do. Nonetheless, however, our primary task over here is piloting, so it is about time to do just that. And as we're turning final, approach mode is armed, watch the heading bug as we capture the localizer.
Bank angle.
Come on, airplane, just give me 30 degrees of bank so that you don't have to complain. There we go. Localizer mode should capture any moment. Here we go. Localizer capture, runway heading set. And glide slope should come in any moment as well. And that's Heathrow up there. Right, 10 miles out, 180 knots, looks very good. A little bit of tailwind, so 200 knots ground speed. Let's start slowing it down. Flaps 10. Speed checked. And flap 10. Glide slope should capture any second. Here we go, glide slope capture. 3,000 feet set. Okay, Heathrow is straight ahead.
2,500.
Train noted. On speed brake, I just want to arm you. No? No. That should be it. Here we go, speed brake armed. Right, 6 miles, gear down, flaps 20. And flaps 30. Speed checked. Well, that's interesting. Look at how the weight and the speeds changed. Okay, well, we're gonna reduce it then. 149 to be our new final approach speed. Look at the pitch, that definitely does look alright as well. I have no idea what... Look at how much lower the weight is. Something messed up there. I'm not 100% sure what, but something else messed up. Okay, flaps down to 30, landing checklist. Speed brake, armed, landing gear, down. Flaps 30, landing checklist complete. Okay then, nicely established.
1,000.
Checked. We get just about 50% of thrust there. And autopilot off. Clear to land.
500.
500 continue.
400. 300. 200. Minimum.
Continue.
100. 50, 40, 30, 20, 10.
Okay, touchdown. Why do I get only 2 reverses? Here we go. For reverse, idle. Auto brake disarm, manual brakes. 80 knots. $60 knots. And here we go. Is that the exit we were not supposed to take? Might be. By the way, this currently is maximum manual braking. This is not strong enough. Let's call it like that. This is maximum manual. It should brake it quite a bit more. Anyway, the runway is vacated, and here we are in London. Looked like a halfway decent landing to me. Okay, left and right are clear. Gonna go into the second taxiway here, and once we're on the taxiway, we can then start cleaning it up. Gonna be pretty tight with the fuel silos over there. That, by the way, was the sound of the speed brake lever, but that was just due to my joystick. Nothing to worry about the airplane. Yeah, let's see how well that fits. Okay, I kinda overestimated my wingspan. Well, better to overestimate it than to underestimate it. Okay. Alright, then here we go. First turn to the left. How am I doing? Yeah, looks alright. And keep on turning, please. Look at how much thrust we need just to keep the airplane moving during the turn. That does not look quite right to me. Okay, weather radar off. Okay, not this, but the next stand looks like what we are gonna take. Here's obviously the big challenge, to put the airplane right on the center line, because you don't really have a lot of space there to correct. But this actually looks alright to me. But we'll see once parked. Okay, the guidance system isn't working, we don't have a marshaller, so we just gotta help ourselves. Let's see if we can read where the 747 marking is. Well, I can't, so just about gotta park it ourselves. Something like that. I honestly have no idea. Like that, maybe. Okay, clock mark set, APU is available, and the ground power as well, lovely. Okay, so we have got the APU online, let's shut down. Uno, dos, tres, and cuatro. Okay, so we have got 4 engines below 20%, beacon off, and we can do the shutdown checklist, please. Hydraulic panel set, fuel pumps off, flaps up, park and brake set, fuel control switches. Cut off, shutdown checklist complete. Okay, let's see how close I parked. Can GSX do something? Request deboarding. Handling by British Airways. Let's see what happens. Okay, final quick check then on our fuel. We got 14.2 on board. That is about 4 tons more than we were supposed to have, so the aircraft probably has a different fuel usage than what SimBrief assumes. We'll have to wait until the profile comes out until we can correct for that. However, welcome to London Heathrow Airport, and by the looks of it, I did actually not park too bad. Let's see. Yeah, aligned with the taxi line. Somewhere on a marker, so that looks quite alright to me. With that, I would like to say thank you very much for flying along. So, what's my opinion then? Well, the 747 is doing some great progress here, just like the 787 is. Now that we circumnavigated that little problem with the vector lag from our SID that we had on yesterday's 787 departure, we actually managed to use LNAV quite well, and VNAV, well, had a couple of issues there, but mostly did work as well. So overall, we are coming along nicely. And I would say that both aircraft, the 747 and the 787, are well on track. And I'm really looking forward to cover those as they progress along the beta. In any case, that is going to be it from my side. I would like to thank you very much for watching today. Hope that you've enjoyed it. If you did, do let me know in the comments below. As always, like, comment and subscribe, as it does really help out the channel. And if you really love what I'm doing, then I would love to see you as a channel member, which is going to give you exclusive early access to new videos before they're released for anyone else. Also, if you don't want to join for whatever reason, you can always make a one-time donation using the Buy Me Coffee link in the video description below. For now, thanks for watching, and I look forward to see you all again, hopefully very, very soon.